All right, we are now joined by Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 78 Furniture Row Visser Precision Chevrolet. Martin, just to open up, I know that you are in the top 5 in the fan vote right now, and I understand it's one of the closest we've had in years.
Great.
You've also won the showdown twice. So clearly this is a format that works for you. Is there any type of strategy that you have in making the All-Star event if you don't win the fan vote?
Well, I think, this year it's a little bit different. If you win either of the first 2 segments, you're in. So I think, our plan is hopefully win the first 20. We'll have to see how qualifying goes first and go from there. But I think, that's a little bit different. Usually that first pit stop before tire strategy was important. And, we've been on kind of on both sides of that. So it takes that out of play a little bit. I think the guys that, the guy that wins the first segment won't have any pressure. So hopefully we'll be in that position, and that's our goal right now.
All right, we'll open it up to questions. Please state your name and affiliation. We'll start over here.
Hey Martin, Tyler Burnett, MRN. Who was your mentor or someone who guided you to start your career when you were younger?
Oh, that'd be my dad. I grew up racing with him, watching him. He was a driver, so that's really what got me into racing. That's what piqued my interest at a young age. That's what got me, into go-kart racing and things like that. So him by far. But there were some other guys at the local short tracks that I looked up to and loved to watch race, and wanted to be like those guys when I was a kid.
All right, we'll go to Nate Ryan and then come up front to Tom Jensen.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Martin, I think the last time you were here was for the test in March when you guys were working on the 2016 package. Or what was supposed to be the 2016 package.
Yeah.
It seems like NASCAR's had second thoughts about that. What were your thoughts about the way that tested, and do you think that would have been a good direction to go? Do you still want to go in that direction?
I think it was a good direction. I just don't think we had the right tire for the package we had. Felt like, we only had 4 cars, so we didn't have the right tire. We didn't have enough cars, so it was really hard to gauge exactly what was better about it, what was worse about it. The 4 of us that were out there trying to, to race and see kind of how the car ran in traffic, we didn't get the feel that we thought we would with less downforce. So, the off-throttle time was a little bit more, but it seemed like the guy with clean air had more of an advantage than what we had with the 15 rules. So there was no clear, it was just, there was too many unknowns with the tires, with there only being 4 cars there. I wish we really could have done it with more cars, had some more tires for options to really get to work on it, because it had some things, the speeds were slower in the middle of the corner, which is what everybody's looking for. We just didn't have the combination and the amount of guys to really put it to use.
Hey Martin, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. How important is it to you to get in the All-Star race just to get laps in preparation of the longest race the following week?
I don't know. I mean, this race is so different than what the 600 is, and really what you try to get your car to do. I think, the All-Star race is all about short run speed. It's all about, taking off on restarts for 5 to 10 laps and then just kind of trying to maintain. So it's a lot different than what we're going to do next week. I don't think, obviously we want to be in it because you don't like to sit there and watch everybody out there racing. We weren't in it last year, and it's just anytime, the guys you normally race against every weekend are out there running, you're miserable if you're watching. So, more than anything, we just kind of want to get in it to have some fun and have a shot at winning, and it's just an exciting event with no points on the line. It's one that everybody wants to be a part of. So I don't think, if something did happen and we didn't get in the show for tomorrow, I don't think it would, handcuff us, as far as having a good run next week in the 600.
All right, we'll go to the middle.
Aaron Burns, National Speed Sport News, right here, Martin. Can you just kind of compare and contrast your team last year at this point with where it is now, and how big of a role is having Cole as your crew chief kind of help move you guys up the ladder?
Well, I don't think there's no comparison where we were last year to where we are now. Just, from a confidence standpoint in each other, in the equipment we're bringing to the racetrack, in the decisions that are being made. So, we feel good every weekend now when we show up to the track, and it's, I'm always so optimistic about the weekend coming up and looking forward to seeing what the guys bring to the track and how competitive we're going to be. Last year was more, at this point in the year, we were just really searching. We were searching for big things. And, that's never a fun position to be in as a race team, especially at this level. So, we've been showing up to the track with great speed this year, with a good understanding of, kind of what we were going to have and what we needed to work on to be better. And, and that's worked out well for us. So, in every area of what we do, I feel like our team is better. Cole's a big part of that, obviously. The engineers he brought in over the winter to help him do his job better are a big part of that. The equipment we have, it's just so many things are different than last year. But the big thing is it's been a lot easier this year, and it's been a lot more fun. That's the key.
All right, we'll go to Stan.
Stan Creekmore with RPMtonight.com. Martin, if you can achieve your goal and win in that first 20 laps, how do you approach the second 20 laps?
Probably just try to be safe. Hopefully we'll start up front and be able to lead. If we did win, and hopefully we'll be able to start up front in the second segment and be able to take the lead and drive away. If we have a car good enough to win the first segment, we should be able to win the second one. So if we get in a situation where it gets a little dicey or things get kind of out of control, obviously we try to do, to be smart and take care of a race car so we can race it tomorrow night.
Any additional questions? Kelly.
Kelly Crandall from PopularSpeed.com. Martin, you've talked about as this team's gotten better, your confidence has risen and you're optimistic. But from the outside, it looks like you've kind of gained a lot of fan support as well. Like a lot of fans on social media are rooting for the 78 team. They've seen the hard work to turn it around. Have you noticed that on social media? Do you feel like you get more an outshowing of support?
I have. It's been great. It's been great to read. I've been watching people voting for weeks on my Twitter page, so it's been cool. This week, Dale Jr. tweeted that he was voting for me. He did vote for me, so that was awesome. Certainly him putting that up there goes a long way to helping us. So, obviously with, we know Danica's going to get a lot of the votes, and to have Junior, back in our team, it's, definitely puts us in the running for that. So it's really cool, and hopefully we won't need it, but it's nice to know that we have a chance if we do. So it's going to be cool.
Final questions for Martin.
ChrisKnight@Catchfence.com. Martin, can you talk about the catwalk for a cause and how this year was different compared to everything else as far as turnout and expectations and everything?
Well, it was great. As every year has been, it's exceeded expectations as far as, the support we get, how good the show was, people's thoughts of how the show was, and, it was incredible. So it gets bigger and bigger each year, and soon we're going to need to find a new place to have it because we're running out of room. So proud of everybody at our foundation for what they do. Proud of Sherry for coming up with the idea 6 or 7 years ago, and just thankful for all the sponsors and everybody that came out to the show and seen it, and all the kids and the doctors from Levine's and everybody that's a part of it. It was it's an amazing event, and I know a lot of the people here have been to it, and I think the coolest thing for us, after we put it on is, people go for the first time and they can't believe what they see. Everyone hears about it. Everybody knows what's going to happen. But when they see it, with their own eyes, they're amazed. So just proud of everybody for what they're doing, and, proud to be able to raise a lot of money for Levine's and the kids there.
All right, and before we release Martin, I want to clarify the winner of segment 1 will not race in segment 2. They will report directly to the garage. All right, good luck
Sweet.
tonight, Martin.
Okay, be running 20 laps tonight then, right? Got it. Thanks for the info.
All right, we are now joined by Kasey Kahne, driver of the number 5 Time Warner Cable Chevrolet, and his crew chief, Keith Rodden. Kasey and Keith, $1 million on the line this weekend. Strategy always playing a big role in this race. Is there a game plan going into tomorrow night, and how much do you imagine that will evolve?
Yeah, I think there definitely is. I think you have to qualify pretty well first. You want to try to start as close to the front as you can to get as many points throughout those rounds as possible. But I think also where you're running on the track kind of decides, helps you decide your strategy, and that's what Keith and our engineers will do throughout the race. They'll figure that out. So my job is just go as hard as you can every lap and pass the car in front of you.
Yeah, we always have a plan, and then as soon as the race starts, it all kind of gets blown up in our face, and see what kind of conditions we have in the race, and then that kind of dictates your strategy. So we've talked about it, and all our guys are prepared, but sometimes you have to jump ship and make adjustments during the race.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Please raise your hand. We'll start over here.
Tyler Burnett, MRN. Kasey, who was the person that started your racing career, your mentor, your right-hand man, if you will, when you first started racing?
Well, I would say it was, it was a lot just myself. Like, I really wanted to race since I was, pretty little. But the reason I wanted to is because I'd go to the racetrack, with my dad. He worked on a dirt sprint car in Washington. There's, 20 races a year, 18, something like that. And I'd try to go as much as possible. So I grew up from, being, pretty young, going to, it's called Skagit Speedway, and just watching and wanting to race. I had a four-wheeler at home, and my cousins were good on four-wheelers, my brother and stuff, so we always raced around our house, our property as much as possible. But I didn't necessarily have like someone that pushed me into it at all. If anything, my parents tried to pull me out, keep me away from it. It's like my dad wanted me to play baseball and basketball and things like that. That was what he did. So I did all that, but I was the one who really wanted to race.
Additional questions? We'll go to Jim Utter.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. One question for Kasey and one question for Keith. Kasey, it seems like more often than not, while you've been at Hendrick, you've had to spend the first part of some seasons kind of digging out of a points hole for one reason or another. I just wondered how this season kind of offered a different perspective or a different outlook on the rest of the year with not having to go through that.
It's been nice not to be, so far behind early in the year. We got out of Daytona without wrecking, and that was something different than I think the 6 previous 500, something like that. So it was nice to start off in the top 10 right off the bat, and we've been able to do a pretty good job of staying in that top 10 since. We've had the only reason we're 10th right now is because of things happening, throughout. Tony got me at Bristol, and then we got in a wreck at Talladega, and that's worth 60 points right there. So that's why we're 10th. But I feel like we're doing a good job. We're not where we want to be, but we're much closer, and we know the things that we need to keep working on. I do. Keith has his things, and the team guys do as well. And we've been trying to accomplish those things each week.
And for Keith, obviously you had a working relationship with Kasey a couple years ago before you became crew chief, but how has found your relationship changed at all, being the actual crew chief and working with Kasey now, or is it much different than it was before?
Well, I don't really think it's a lot different. We have some of the similar interests. Obviously, racing, we're real interested in that, and all these sprint cup cars and everything. And then he has his sprint cars for the World of Outlaws. I kind of like to pretend I can come up with something, and I can't, but it's fun. We love racing, and we love other forms of sports and stuff like that. So we've always kind of had a common ground to, we have like something else we can talk about, and then we have, our job. And to me, it's been real comfortable, and it hasn't been a lot different.
All right, we'll go to the left and then to the back to Claire.
Brian Formico, WXII. This question's for Kasey. Kasey, with the return of Kyle Busch, you've raced on the track with or without other big names around you. How does that kind of change the dynamic of things when somebody is or isn't out on the track?
I'm happy Kyle's back. I know it's I've never had to sit out like that because of injury or anything, and I know as much as he enjoys racing, as good of a race car driver as he is, it had to be really tough on him. So I'm glad he's back. As soon as I heard he's coming back, I'm texting him like, man, it's great to hear. Excited for you. Things like that. So I don't know what he went through because it's hard to know unless you're in his shoes. But he has to be happy to be back in the car. He was fast in practice. So I think it's pretty cool to have him back, and he's a big part of the Sprint Cup Series in my opinion. There's so many fans that enjoy watching him, and I know racing with him and just seeing him out there, it's better when he's there. So yeah, I'm glad that he's back out here.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Can you both talk about with the format of the All-Star race, how difficult it is to win? You know, there's not a huge number of cars, but it's very, very competitive.
Yeah, it's all the best guys and all the best teams and all the best equipment. And it seems like every year is a little bit of a tweak, and this year the segments are a little bit longer. So we'll have to be smart about the type of race we try to call and how aggressive we are. But it's really tough, and it's all about trying to get in the front 2 rows, I feel like, for the last segment, and be able to race for $1 million.
Yeah, I agree. It's it's the best of the best in stock car racing. So you have to have a car that works really well, because if you can't pass, you're not going to win, because you have to come in towards the very front of that final pit stop. So you need to pass. You need to be up front. Finish up front in the other segments, and so you have to have a great car. You have to make good calls throughout the race. You have to push hard, and our cars are, each year it seems like the teams find more downforce. They took more power away, took power away this year, and by more downforce, so you're running way harder than what we have in the past. So that makes it tougher to pass as well. So I don't know. It'll be interesting how the segments go. I'm glad they're a little bit longer, because at least the cars will give up some over those runs, and maybe you'll get an extra spot or two, depending on how well your car's turning and running. But it's not going to be easy.
Danny Harnden, Fox 8 in Greensboro High Point. This is for Kasey. Kasey, we went down with you, or we were there at Fort Bragg when you were there a couple weeks ago. Do you still have your ripped neck scar there? And being there, what does this weekend, is it even more special being around all the military personnel?
Well, that was a neat day, and I enjoyed learning some of those things at Fort Bragg and hanging out with everybody there. So it was pretty cool. It took like 4 days to heal my chin and neck, but that was my fault. I jumped off out of that building the wrong direction, so I screwed that up. But that was good. That's next week. Next week they're going to be here supporting the 600, and that'll be a neat event. It's always great to race on Memorial Day weekend and know that we have that privilege, and try to win one of our big races.
KirstenKitchens.com. Kasey, it's been nearly 3 years since you've been in a truck. How crucial was that 5-hour practice yesterday, and what's your outlook for tonight's race?
I'm glad we got to do it. It had been a while, and the junior motorsports guys, they haven't raced a lot on the mile and a halves because Cole's their driver and he does a great job, but they run on the shorter track. So it took a little bit of time to kind of find the bottom of the truck and where the heights needed to be and things like that. So I think the extra time was good. We didn't get the truck perfect, but I think we'll have a fast truck tonight, and I'm looking forward to the challenge, trying to run up front throughout the race.
Tyler Burnett, MRN, over here again. Kasey, sorry. I don't know if you saw, but Landon Castle's going to run 14 miles after the 600 to the Hall. Have you thought about maybe doing it, or how big of a challenge that would be after 600 miles?
Why is he doing that?
For charity. I don't know.
For charity.
But would you? I know you're a runner, so would you do
I
it
wouldn't
14
do that,
miles?
though. You
Why
got to
not?
be in. You have to be in really good shape. You have to run a ton of miles, log a lot of miles each week. When I ran my half marathons, I was, running, I can't remember, 35 miles a week or something like that. And to run, did you say 16? 14 after the 600? Yeah, that's gonna be late. I don't know. I wouldn't do that unless it was for a good cause, and it sounds like charity is, whatever he's doing it for is a really good cause. So that's cool on his part. I hope it goes well for him.
Any final questions for Kasey or Keith? We'll go to Nate. We'll go over to the right.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports, for both Keith and Kasey. The last time you guys were here 2 months ago, you tested what was thought was going to be maybe the rules for 2016, and now it looks like they might not be. What did you guys think of that package, and did you think it was going the right direction? Do you think NASCAR might eventually still head there at some point?
I think it's tough on all that stuff because it takes time, and you go out there for a couple hours and decide if you're going to run it next year is probably not the right way to do it. So I don't understand exactly how to do it. I liked driving the car by myself way better than driving the car we have right now. That was it was just, you could actually lift and, you know, run and move around on the track. It was just, to me, that car drove way better by itself. You have to have a lot of cars out there to see how it races, you know, in traffic and things like that, and you need a lot of time to work on it. So it's time consuming, but just running single car runs, that car was that was a lot of fun to drive. It was kind of like it was back in 04, 05 or something. It was more, you know, the characteristics of the car and how it was handling was like that. And I was remembering things as I was driving, like, man, yeah, I used to have this feel. We don't have that feel anymore, you know, with all the downforce that we have. We have so much downforce. So it's has just changed it up a lot. But I'm not sure what they're going to do, but hopefully they keep looking, you know, down that path.
We'll finish up.
I just echo what Kasey said. The biggest issue for me was that it was Kasey and Martin and Eric, and just 3 cars running around each other. You can't make a decision based on that for next year. So I have no idea what'll come of it, but I didn't think it was a bad direction.
All right, we'll finish up over here on the right.
Kasey, Pete McCall with AutoRacing1.com. I wanted to ask you what you thought your chances were of your sprint car team bringing home a championship next weekend at the World of Outlaws race here.
We run pretty good at Charlotte. You know, I know the guys they want to win that race. We've won it before a few different times, so look forward to that. You know, they've been working hard to get better because we haven't been as fast as we wanted to be this year, but you know, it seems like we keep making gains each week. So hopefully next Friday night they'll be fast and be able to contend for the win. I think you know, hopefully the track's really good. You know, at the World Finals at the end of last year, they had a perfect racetrack for racing, and all the racing both nights was really good. So hopefully we get a track like that, and the guys can race, and you know, whoever's best is going to win it.
Is there any chance we might see you in a sprint car again anytime soon?
I wish I could run that race. I wish I could run a lot of races, but haven't been able to right now. Hopefully, maybe in June. I want to race in June on our off week.
All right, we'll let you guys get to your debrief. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
All right, we're now joined by Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's Red Nose Day Toyota. Kyle, you were fastest in practice. I'd imagine you've adjusted to the car pretty well. How did it feel to get some laps in, and your thoughts on tomorrow night's race?
Felt really good. You know, was obviously optimistic about coming back and you know, getting some laps in here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So everything felt good with the number 18 M&M's Red Nose Day Toyota Camry. Was excited to get back in, see my guys, and you know, just kind of get the taste of all of that again. But you know, just trying to get a feel for the seat, the car, and being back behind the wheel. It's been a while, and as far as I was concerned, it felt like everything went according to plan, and you know, we had some decent speed and race trim, and we made some adjustments to it for that qualifying run, that mock qualifying run that we made. That, you know, it's a little different qualifying procedure here, obviously, tomorrow night. So was able to put a fast time up to get top of the sheet, but not sure everybody made that same effort. So you know, was definitely excited to see that speed, and hopefully we can see that again tomorrow night.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. We'll start with Lee, Kenny, and then Jeff.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Welcome back, Kyle. What was the biggest adjustment initially to just getting out there? Was it the sensation of speed, or you know, just getting your feet right, your legs right? What was it?
I would say it was just sort of the feel of the race car, and you know, these race cars have been changing quite constantly, and with setups and things like that. So just trying to get a feel for what all was going on there, and for what I had to drive. Besides that, the seat was an adjustment for me. I'm not used to the carbon seat at all. I've never run one at a mile and a half like this, so that was a little bit of an adjustment for me. So we had to tinker with it just a little bit there through practice, and again, we're going to tinker with it now just to kind of see if we can't make it just a tick better for me, more comfortable, you know, for the long haul, especially next week.
Kenny Bruce from NASCAR.com. Kyle, did you get here any earlier today or any later, or was there anything? And were you more eager to be here, and were you thinking about getting back in the car when you woke up this morning?
I didn't sleep all that great last night, and I was wondering why. I don't know if my body was just thinking I would miss an alarm, but I really didn't have to set an alarm. I mean, it was late enough to get here. It wasn't like it was a 9 a.m. practice or anything, but you know, no, I got here pretty typical when I normally do. I always get here and then eat lunch and just spend some time in the motorhome, whatnot, and then get myself to the hauler and changed and onto the car. You know, so nothing really any different actually that I had to do today.
All right, we'll go to Bob and then Jeff Gluck.
Bob Hocker, ESPN. From the people I've talked to, it sounds like that Charlotte has kind of been your goal for a while as the race to come back. I'm curious, was there a time in the last couple months where you thought, man, no way am I going to be ready by Charlotte?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, there was days in Daytona, you know, I was kind of counting the weeks, and I was like, man, I could probably make it back by Talladega, but that would definitely be pushing it, you know, and I was like, well, that wouldn't be very smart of me to come back for Talladega. And then, you know, Kansas was the next one, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I want that one either. So Charlotte looks really good. And, you know, obviously it seems to be a good choice in coming back for here. So I think it was kind of always a goal, and whether or not I could meet that goal was just how hard we worked and pushed and tried to get ready for this day.
All right, we'll go to Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. NASCAR gave you a waiver for the races you missed, but not for the top 30 requirement. What were your thoughts on all that?
Well, I think it's great. Obviously, it gives us a legitimate chance to try to qualify for the chase and to be able to race for a championship. I mean, that's all you could ask for. You know, it seems as though the rest of the drivers and whatnot, you know, they're happy with the ruling. I think they would accept the same ruling for themselves if they were in that situation. But you know, I'm ready to tackle the challenge. I know it's not quite going to be easy, but you know, if we do the right things and make some of the right calls and you know, try to win some of these races, I mean, you know, we're going to have to make some gutsy calls maybe to win some, and there's going to be other guys around us that are going to be making some gutsy calls too because they've already won some. So, you know, it's going to be catch-22 sometimes probably, but we'll see what we can do and get ourselves chase eligible and go race them in the end.
All right, we'll go to Jenna, Viv, and Tom.
Jenna Fryer, AP. Just as practice was getting ready to start, Samantha tweeted so many emotions right now. I'm wondering if you guys had a minute or two together today where it just, you know, that like, wow, we're back, and you shared that.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, we always, every morning, we always get up together, we eat breakfast together and whatnot. So we just kind of shared a little bit of that during breakfast. But then when I left the house, you know, I told her to make sure she did everything the best she could to keep her legs crossed today and tomorrow. And that, you know, we keep baby Busch inside for at least 48 more hours. But besides that, it was, you know, it was a nice moment as I was getting ready to walk out to the garage that, you know, we hugged for a little while and just, you know, she said it's what we had was all over with, you know, having to go through all the trials and tribulations of figuring out, you know, how to stand up, how to walk, all that stuff. That's all over, and it seems as though we're back to our normal schedule. Although sometimes it takes a little bit longer for me to get to point A to point B, but hopefully not too much longer. That'll be right back to where it was too.
Go ahead, Viv. Sorry.
Okay. Viv Bernstein, New York Times. There's more safer barriers out. I don't know if you noticed them. There's some tire packs out there that weren't there the last time you were here. Do you feel safer at all by all the news of all the tracks doing all these things?
I wouldn't say you ever feel safe in that regard, but safer. Yeah, I mean, anytime a racetrack or a facility is able to elevate their level of safety for us competitors and the race fans and the crew members, you know, we always are grateful of that. You know, maybe it gives us a greater sense of you know, not being able to get hurt, but I think that aspect is still out there. You know, I mean, we run race cars around in circles with safer barrier walls, you know, upwards of 200 miles an hour. So there's still an element there that anything can happen. So, but NASCAR and the racetracks have done a really nice job over the last little bit to push that safety aspect for all of us competitors, and the continuation of that would only be appreciated.
Tom.
Kyle, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. What weighs more on your mind this week? Getting back in a race car at high speed for the first time, or becoming a first-time father?
I would say it goes within what you're doing. You get to the racetrack, and it definitely weighs on you getting back in that car. How's it going to be? Am I going to screw up? I felt like I got loose one time today, and I was like, just don't spin out. Just don't spin out. And then, I'm sure when I change and I start heading home, it's like, all right, things are soon to change. I mean, it's legitimate. He's here on Monday, no doubt. No ifs, ands, or buts. So, that's, we kind of, Samantha and I, we chuckled about that last night. It's, we looked at each other and we're like, what are we going to be doing in, 72 hours was at that point. And it's going to be time to be parents, he's going to be here. So we're excited though. We both are, and I am. And just hoping that the timing's right.
All right, we'll go to the left and then finish up with Reed.
Kyle, Brian Formica with WXII over here. Any worries going through your mind? I mean, after going through something like that, that's not the easiest thing to go through, and especially all the rehab and all the getting back to it. I mean, and going to be a father, is there anything that any buzzers that go off in your mind?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, taking another hard hit, sure. That definitely is in the back of your mind. How hard of a take can you withstand and not get hurt again? So that's obviously there, but that's something that we live with each and every day, even before I got hurt. How hard of a lick can I take and still walk away? But I think we found that out finally. Every man is breakable, so there's obviously a risk factor that we take, but you pray to the good Lord that He keeps you safe, and you go do your job.
Reed Smith with NASCAR Wire Service. Kyle, you're a numbers guy. Have you stopped to calculate at all, other than winning a race, what you think it's going to take to make the chase?
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, obviously you got to win one, but then I think past that you've got to average like a 15-8 or 16-1 average finish or something. So, that's how many points that is. I don't know. I think it's 430 or 40 something that you've got to be able to get by the time you get to Richmond. So certainly I've seen plenty of people that have done the numbers for me, and they all kind of come out relatively the same. So that's what I've seen.
All right, thank you for joining us, Kyle. Good
All
luck.
right, appreciate it. Thank y'all.